Okay, I'd like to call the Union County Board of Education meeting to order. I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-131, 2 for the consideration of bids, prevent the disclosure of privileged personnel information pursuant to Chapter 115C, Article 21A of the North Carolina General Statutes or Regulations, consult with our attorney pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 to consult with an attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. Prevent the disclosure of privileged student information pursuant to 115C 402 and FERPA 20 USC 1232G. And under NCGS 143-318.10 and 11 to review minutes from prior closed session meetings.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Union County Board of Education to order. We will have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ray, do you have a student? I don't have a student. Do you? Okay, I guess I don't. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now for approval of the agenda, I actually have some additions to the agenda. 15 is budget preparation calendar, so I'd like to change 15A, budget preparation calendar, 15B, Mr. Side's continuing education requirement, 16A, Unionville Elementary roofing bids, 16A, Unionville Elementary roofing bids, which is there, 16B, Porter Ridge Elementary roofing bid, and then 16C, 14, 15 deferred projects and emerging lists. And in number 9, the consent agenda, the personnel agenda, we've added an addendum, and that's at your desk. So please have a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve as amended, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? All approved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Agenda's approved. The John H. Crowder Award. Everyone, just stay in your seats for this, please.
Each month, we recognize a high school student with the John H. Crowder Award for Community Service. This month's recipient is Jalen Nixon from Monroe High School. Jalen is a member of the varsity basketball team and is playing a game tonight. We will recognize Jalen at the February board meeting and honor him with the Crowder Award at that time. Congratulations, Jalen.
Thank you, Ms. Helms. Okay, we have special recognitions tonight. Board members, will you please come to the front?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to take this time to recognize a very gifted Union County Public Schools teacher and his equally talented students tonight. Would Mr. Larry Robinson and the students in the Theater Academy at Central Academy of Technology and Arts please come forward so school board members can congratulate you individually? Both Mr. Robinson, the drama teacher at CATA, and his students are pretty familiar faces to our school board members. Mr. Robinson was just recognized last month by the board for receiving the Teacher of the Year award from the North Carolina Theater Arts Educator Association. He and his students seem to be recognized on a state and national level every year. Most recently, their play, The Diviners, took a superior rating at the North Carolina Theater Conference State High School Play Festival in Greensboro in late November, earning the Distinguished Play Award. It also won the Audience Choice Distinguished Play. Mr. Robinson received the C.C. Lipscomb Award for Excellence in Directing, while some of his students were also recognized individually. Gage Robinson, no relation, congratulations. I love your sweater. That's so cool. That's cool. That's cool. And I like your sparkles too. Gage Robinson, who is no relation, I don't believe, to Mr. Larry Robinson, won an award for excellence in set design and for outstanding achievement in acting, while Ashley Hedgepath won an award for excellence in stage management, and Amina Faye won an outstanding achievement in acting award. The play will now advance to compete at the Southeastern Theater Conference in March. The Southeastern Theater Conference consists of 10 states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North and South Carolinas, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. Congratulations to you, Mr. Robinson, and to your students for this outstanding achievement. We know you'll do well, and I dare say rock, the Southeastern Theater Conference in March. Here to support Mr. Robinson tonight are his principal, Kim Facin, his wonderful wife, Miss Brenda Robinson, and his son, Zane. And if you're a parent of one of these fine young men or women, would you stand up so we can salute you as well? Board members, this does conclude our special recognition.
Okay, thank you. Now I need a motion to approve the open session minute meetings for November 10th and December 1st of 2015. Number 8, I need a motion to approve session minutes for open session, November 10th and December 1st.
I'd like to amend the meeting minutes for the November the 10th, the joint meeting. On approval for agenda, in that section, it was not a 1-8 vote, it was a 2-7 vote.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I was a little concerned too. I would like to see who the individual members were voting and how they voted, especially concerning issues that may be a FERPA issue down the road. I think we need to have clarity and direction there.
And that was my main reason for bringing that up. It was Mr. Sides and Miss Merrill voted in favor, and the remaining board members voting in opposition.
Okay, so noted. Any problems? Any concerns? Okay.
Yeah. One other change. On the vote to send someone to the Board of County Commissioner meeting, I know that we did that later in our own meeting, but if you could change my vote, I did vote to send someone, and I didn't vote in opposition of that.
That was December 1st meeting?
No, that
No,
was
that was the
still
joint
the
meeting.
joint meeting,
Okay.
just to make sure the record is fully correct. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
call the question.
Move to approve is amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Ray, we now have the TQE presentation.
First of all, thank you all for allowing us to share some of the wonderful things that are going on at Monroe Middle School. Tonight, our Teacher of the Year, am I not supposed to be there?
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to, okay, sorry.
It was a practice run, right?
That's it. I'm sorry. I just, yes, sorry. You're up. No, you're up. I just, we're looking at public comments, we didn't have them up there.
Okay. Am I good? Ready? All right. Again, thank you all for the opportunity to present some of the good things that are going on in Monroe Middle School. Tonight, our Teacher of the Year, Ms. Rossman, and two of our 7th grade students, Kenya and Carrington, are going to present our Student Success Program. Before I ask them to come up, I would just like to also recognize the folks that helped put this presentation together, Mr. Kopczynski, Ms. Hall, Ms. Teff, and Ms. Kibler. She's somewhere around here as well. So, this is just one of the many things that we have going on here at Monroe School that we're very proud of. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Rossman now.
Good evening. What we're going to present to you is about, like Mr. Ray said, our Student Success Program. Student Success is our remediation and intervention class to meet the individual needs of the students during the day to help with growth without hindering us from teaching our current content. This is an example of the 6th grade schedule. You can see there after first block, we have built in a student success time. It's a roughly 40-minute period. Every grade level in our school does this, 6th, 7th, and 8th, for 40 minutes every single day. Student success grouping, at the beginning of the school year, when the students come to 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, they are given a pre-assessment in both math and language arts. Throughout the remainder of the year, we use data from weekly assessments or county benchmarks to decide what areas we need to remediate all of our students. We also use this data to place the students in specific needs groups. Student success groups are solely created on student needs. So whatever that student, what they perform on an assessment or a benchmark, we look at each individual student by themselves in math and language arts, and we group them based on that. Our groups are redesigned every 4 weeks in math and every 5 to 6 weeks in language arts. So they're constantly changing groups. And again, as I said, students receive remediation in both language arts and mathematics. This is an example of a folder of a student we have here in the 6th grade this year. As you see, just at the top is the student's name. To the right is their math teacher that they have every single day as their core content. And to the left, it says their classes. What that means is this student, you can see, has attended 4 different sessions, as we say, this school year. It says which teacher they went to for student success and what that student was teaching them. We use this folder. Every student has one for math and for language arts, and it goes with them from each time we regroup them. Why this folder is beneficial is it contains all the assessments throughout the year. We can use it during parent conferences. We can use it for student data, just another piece of information. So that's just an example of what the folder would look like. The grouping of student success is taken into great consideration. This is an example of a Google Doc that we share out so that they can see at the top. You can see, I know it's difficult to see in bold, the teacher and then what skill that teacher is giving the students. Teachers from all subject areas, including science, social studies, and our elective teachers, help to teach or remediate these groups, which allows us to make group sizes smaller, which is more beneficial, especially in this remediation class. All teachers are given a standard based on student needs. So these teachers, whatever they're teaching right now, in 4 to 6 weeks, they'll get a whole different group of students and probably an entire different topic of remediation. And again, same thing, this is an example of our language arts schedule. As you can see, it looks very similar to the math one. This is an example of the data that we collect. This is SchoolNet data. In the top row is the county data, and the second row would be our school data, so Monroe Middle School. And then the third row would be the specific students, the class data. So this is a teacher at our school's data in SchoolNet. And then under that, all of the following rows are student data. So how a teacher would use this is they would go in and say, okay, my student got 2 out of 10 questions correct in this category. And they would say, they obviously need remediation in this subject area, and they would place them in that group for, that 4 to 6 week time period. So that's an example of what data we would look at to do that. And as Mr. Ray said, we're going to welcome up 2 of our students to help. They're going to tell you how student success has helped them in the classroom. So if Carrington and Kenya could join me up here. I'll stay with you. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Hi, my name is Carrington Clark, and I am in 7th grade here at Monroe Middle School. Student Success is a class that offers additional help with reading and math. Student Success has helped me with math. It allowed me to increase my grades in math from B's to an A's. Also, in math, I have increased my EOG scores. It was a 2, and I went from a 4.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kenya Flores, and I'm in 7th grade here in Monroe Middle School. Student success means to have the time to ask questions that we have during class that we can't ask our teachers. We can practice and work on unfinished work or on something that we haven't mastered in class. Teachers at that time, we have the privilege to help each individual student on a subject they may have problems with. Student success has helped me with language arts by giving me a teacher who knew and how to help me get better with my questions and new strategies. I could work with others and ask for help, and we get to work in groups. Each student gets to read and answer questions during that time. I know that student success has helped me because I could surpass my goal on my language arts EOG to get a 4.
Well, that was our presentation on student success, one of the many things we do here at Monroe Middle School. Thank you for your time.
Now, Dr. Ellis, Superintendent's Report.
First of all, I want to congratulate the Monroe High School Red Hawk football team on their victory right before Christmas, the state football champions, and we would be recognizing them tonight, except the majority of them are playing basketball. And so I see Coach Sowell's sister out here in the audience with a big old grin on her face. So we will reserve bringing these young men in until they can all come in. But I would be remiss if I did not congratulate Coach Sowell and all of the fine young men at Monroe High School for their victory, and their classy victory at that. First class. Also was fortunate to attend the Monroe High School Principal's Breakfast honoring student success and in academics. I had a great time there. Several staff members, we attended the Wolf Holiday Party, and if you're not aware, the maintenance department has a golf tournament every fall. And the maintenance department, then the money they raise, they spend that money on gifts for all of the children at Wolf. And I saw some board members there. It was a wonderful morning with children, and the excitement surpassed Christmas morning. I'll just say that for some of them. But thanks to the maintenance department for the golf tournament. Also, Indian Trail Elementary hosted a Leader in Me training. That is a school-wide training that they have been committed to, the faculty and staff, for I think this is their third year. They're also going to have a session, I believe, in April. I think 3 board members attended the first one. I know Mr. Sides has attended previously. 3 board members and I this time, and there's going to be another session in April. I would encourage all board members that are interested certainly to go. It's quite informative, and it's all student-led. It's wonderful. Also, the month of December, I had a Forest Hills Cluster parent meeting and talked with parents about their concerns in the Forest Hills Cluster. The end of the first semester is upon us. Exams start in high school next Monday. So I want to wish all of our high school students well in their exams. I also want to report to the board that finally the 40-day numbers have been certified, and we are up 644 students from last year. That's the final total. I can't tell you the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. Dr. Webb can, he's got them. I don't know if he's got them in his head, but we can certainly get them for you. But it's 644 students. I also want to wish everyone a very happy 2016. I hope it's good for all of our children and all of our employees and all of the folks in this room. And finally, I want to take this time to, I was not at the last board meeting. That was the day my dad was buried. And I want to thank the students and the teachers and the staff, employees of Union County Public Schools, and the folks at this table who took the time to remember my family in prayer, or to send a card, or just to send me a text. It meant more than you will ever know that in this field of work that we consider each other human beings and that we can be there for one another in times of trouble. And I just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for your compassion during that time with my family. And Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Karpinski, we have the external audit report.
Good evening, board members. As you're aware, we're required by law to have an external audit report, and as such, I'm going to introduce Mr. Adam Shapirek to give the report, and as it being an external audit report, they have expressed an opinion on our financial statements, and he's with the firm Anderson, Smith & Wyke.
Good evening, board. Dr. Ellis. I think in front of you electronically, you should have 2 documents, 2 PDFs. One is a 2-page letter that we issued to the board, as well as a fairly lengthy, maybe 70-page set of financial statements. The first item I'd like to go over is the letter that we addressed to the board. Again, that 2-page letter. The board being the entity that actually hires us to conduct the audit of management and the financial statements, we issue this letter to you to let you know how the audit went. If there was anything that didn't fit in the context of the audit opinion or the audit letters that are part of the financial statements, we would include it in this letter. Anything new that was implemented, any troubles we had, whether there was another external auditor involved, anything like that would be reported in this letter. And the only thing I have to go over here in this letter is that we implemented what's called GASB 68. GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They issue the requirements. They issue them for all governmental statements nationwide. If you're going to issue a governmental set of financial statements, they're in accordance with their standards. And they issued a new standard, GASB 68, which requires that if you are a part of a pension plan, you now have to record your proportionate share of that liability on your financial statements. So in these financial statements, you'll see about 5 pages of new footnotes. You'll see some restatements and some new liabilities, as well as new assets related to the teacher and state employee retirement system. You, as Union County Schools, represent about 1.5% of the total plan statewide for the teachers and state employees, and that 1.5%, your portion of that liability, is now found in these financial statements. And again, it's not a liability that you can manage. It's not a liability that you pay for. You pay it as you pay teacher salaries and withhold retirement and pay your own portion of the retirement expense. So it's not really a liability you can manage. It just has to be represented on your financial statements, and it's not represented in the actual funds. So on your general fund, state fund, it's not on those statements. It's on the statements where we combine all the funds, all of your assets, all of the liabilities, where we add the value of all your buildings, where we add the liability for compensated absences that have yet to be paid, and now we add pension liability. So those, again, those items are new in the statements, and there's like about 5 pages of footnotes describing how that liability is calculated, all the assumptions used by the actuaries, and that's really the only thing on the letter to the board, just letting you know that that's a new statement, new GASB statement that was implemented in these statements. All right. Now, if we look at the actual financial statements, on page 1, you'll find the independent auditor's opinion letter, the independent auditor's report. This is essentially our opinion letter on the financial statements. And in that letter, again, right on page 1 at the bottom of the page is what's called the opinion paragraph. And it states that, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above, basically these financial statements, are presented fairly in all material respects. And they present the financial position of the governmental activities and the business type activities for each major fund for the year ended June 30, 2015. So this is basically saying that we feel that these financial statements represent the financial position of the board as of June 30, 2015. This is considered a clean, unmodified opinion. So that's on the bottom of page 1. After page 1, there's a section for management's discussion and analysis. It has some discussion on some of the changes in revenues and assets and liabilities over the years, or during the year. But if you look on page 11, this starts the actual exhibits, the actual financial statements. Page 1 or page 11, exhibit 1 is essentially the balance sheet for the governmental unit as a whole. This combines all of your funds. It combines all of your assets, like the buildings that aren't reported on the funds, and also adds those liabilities. So Exhibit 1 is where you'll find some new lines associated with that GASB 68 pension liability. I said that your proportionate share is about 1.5% of the total plan. That 1.5% is a small percentage, but it's a very large dollar amount. So on page 12, Exhibit 2, which is the income statement for, again, the governmental unit as a whole, combining all of your funds, all of your changes, all your revenues and expenses, there's a restatement at the bottom of Exhibit 2, and that total for the governmental activities is $75 million. So we basically added a $75 million liability for this pension plan. Now, this liability is going to change dramatically from year to year. In fact, we recorded a restatement for $75 million to represent the pension liability at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, that liability was only $17 million. So in 1 year, it fluctuates from 75 to 17, and that's going to do that every year, basically depending on the stock market. So this liability is new on the financial statements, new on Exhibit 1, and we had to record a restatement to record it as if it had always been there on Exhibit 2. Are there any questions so far? I think that's the end of my accounting lesson on GASB 68. So again, with the footnotes there, you can read through them. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me at any time. But that was those are the statements that reflect that new GASB 68. So on Exhibit 3 starts the financial statements that are kind of what I like to think of more meaningful, in that they're on the fund basis. They show each of the funds in a column. Again, Exhibit 3 is the balance sheet. Exhibit 4 is the income statement. And I just wanted to point out a couple of numbers. For the general fund, the unassigned fund balance as of June 30, 2015 was $523,000, and that's $220,000 lower than last year's $741,000. And that's the unassigned general fund balance. Exhibit 4 is the income statement for each of the funds. Again, a column for each fund showing revenues, expenses, and at the bottom of that page, you'll see for the general fund, the change in fund balance in the general fund for the year ended June 30, 2015 was a decrease of $3 million. Also, another column, the other special revenue fund, it recognized a net change in fund balance of a decrease of $1.4 million. Further on, Exhibit 7, this is the statement for your business activities. So the first two statements, those are governmental. Those are your funds like your general fund, state public school fund, federal grants fund. But you have two funds that operate as a business, the school food service fund and your Kids Plus fund. Those two funds are essentially there to make money. They sell a service, whether it's providing food or providing daycare. So those are considered business type funds, and those financial statements are found on Exhibits 7 and 8 on page 20 and 21. School food service unrestricted fund balance for that fund was $4.5 million at the end of the year, and the child care fund was $1.7 million at the end of the year. Exhibit 8, you'll find the income statement for those two funds. The change in net position for the school food service fund this year was $74,000, and the child care fund actually decreased $630,000, but that was because they paid $400,000 to the individual schools and also paid indirect cost of $500,000. So those are the net results for those two funds for the year. And again, we're going over some financial statements that are 6 months old at this point. These numbers, you've moved on, created a new budget, you're looking forward. But part of what we do, we come in and we look at the audit, we look at the numbers, we tell you that they are presented fairly in this report. And also we look at the internal controls, we look at how management operates to make sure that during the year that they're not providing erroneous data, erroneous financial statements. When we come in, we audit. If we have significant adjustments to make, then we think there's a problem. Luckily, in this system here with Dan and his staff, we don't have significant adjustments. So while I'm presenting 6-month-old data, I'm also here to let you know that during the year, the information that you're provided is accurate, and that the audit it goes well, it's smooth, and the information you're provided during the year is representative of that financial position on an ongoing basis. So the rest of the financial statements are a bunch of footnotes. It's the same financial data presented. Some of it's budget versus actual. There's some schedules in there. But I really would actually point out, if you could turn all the way to page 51 if you're following along, but not only do we come in and do an audit of the financial statements, we also come and do an audit of compliance. Part of your funding comes from the state and federal government, and those dollars come in programs, and we have to audit a certain amount of those dollars every year to make sure that they're being spent in compliance with the applicable grant agreements. So on page 51 starts 6 pages of reports that are essentially opinion letters on that compliance. The first 2 pages is a report on internal controls that lets you know that we noted no instances of internal control deficiencies that we thought were material weaknesses. Basically, we don't note any weaknesses that might have a material effect on the financial statements in the course of conducting our audit. And it also says in that first letter that we noted no instances of non-compliance. The next 2 pages, or the next 2 reports, they're the same letter. One is for your federal grants and one is for your state grants. And each of those letters are opinion letters that state that, in our opinion, the Union County Schools complied with all material aspects of the grants that we audited as major, meaning that we noted no instances where money was spent out of compliance with the grant agreements that we audited. And for this year, we audit the State Public School Fund every year. We also looked at driver training, voc ed, school technology funds, and state school buses. Those were the state grants we audited as major. Federal grants that we audited as major were the Special Ed Fund and Title I. So again, we noted no instances of non-compliance with any of the state and federal requirements for those grants. And then also, finally, on page 59, we had a finding from last year that we noted as corrected this year. So that finding was related to G. Feller-Waller concussion forms, being retained for a period of time. Again, that in conducting the audit this year, we noted that finding was actually corrected. So, and that's really all I have for the audit report. Again, it's like I said, it's a 6-month-old report. You're looking forward, working on budgets in the current year in the 15-16. But again, when we conduct the audit, look at controls, look at processes, we don't note anything that would suggest that, again, the information you're provided on a monthly, quarterly, and ongoing basis is fairly presented. So, any questions? All right, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Karpinski, I want to say thank you, you and your team. Evidently, you did a great job, and we appreciate that.
How about there's
And
his team,
there's the
Shirley
team.
and
I know, I
Sean.
was looking
Yeah.
at both of them back there.
I am blessed with a great team, and we try to do things right, and this audit's a reflection of that for the Board of Education.
Well, thank you. Now you can stay up. You're next for a financial report as of December 31st.
Okay, now we're going to catch you up to this year. We put together this report relatively quickly. It really wasn't modified at all. Of course, at the end of the year, you would have adjustments potentially that would affect the statements at a particular point in time, especially on June 30th. But these statements are pretty much off the ledger, reviewed for appropriateness to make sure that they are reflective of what's going on as of December 31st. So this is July 1st through December 31st. And at this point in time, we should be right at about 50%. And if there's any kind of clean time to look at where you're at, this would be it. And as I've said to the Board of Education numerous times, we're always going to try to spend state dollars first and then use our local dollars towards the end of the year. And on page 1, you can see that we've overspent to the tune of 51.4%. We went over 50%, not overspending any budgets, but that's reflective of putting as many expenditures on the state fund that ultimately will have to be pushed to the local fund towards the next quarter or so. So as you can see, we're governed by purpose codes. And each of these purpose codes shows what percentage spent we're at this point for the public, except on the screen. But essentially, all said and told, you can see that most are in that 45 to 50% range. There is a one item that I had to adjust is the amount for the financial and human resource services. You can see that's at 100%. We actually had too much booked there, so now we had to push, and we're going to have to post those to the local budget, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the next fund, which would be the local fund. So as far as I'm concerned, we're on track. This is typical that we'd be spending around 52% of the state fund at this point in time, and we'll move to the local budget if we could do that. Page 2 shows the budget of $95.4 million, and at this point, we've only spent 46.7%. Well, that's because we're overcharging the state fund at this point. It's perfectly legal to do so. It's a matter of just spending state dollars first and using your local dollars as needed towards the end of the year. But if you were to take the local and state budgets, combine them, and look at the local and state expenditures and combine those, you're right at 50%. So I'd like to say this is a very good budget that we worked with. Of course, this year we had more time to look at this budget because we got it earlier than in past years. So it is a reflection of what we finally got from the state and local governments, and we're able to put together a clean, I think, budget that's going to serve us well for the rest of the year. I don't really see any issues on the local budget. I think one of the things we have to look at is the payments to charter schools. That just happens to be right now at 53%. There is no state money to backfill that. That's probably something we're gonna have to transfer money into, like we talked to the county commissioners about during the budget process. So unless there's any questions about that, and on this particular report, the financial and human resource budget that was at 100%. After we pushed some to the local level, we're still only at 45.1% on the local budget. But overall, we're right at about 50% expenditures compared to budget, state and local. I'll move to the federal, if that's okay, page 3. Excuse me. Big thing to know here, like you've heard before, the federal government provides us grants on 27-month basis. So when they give us a grant this year, that money has to last 27 months. So you'll see some budgeted dollars, and you also will see a lower percentage of dollars spent in this fund because there's going to be carryover for 2 years. 12 months next year, and then another 3 years the following year. I think this thing on budgeted funds, of course, you just have to realize that's for 1 or 2 years out. So that's why it's not budgeted at this point. Capital outlay fund, a lot of work's been done in that area this year. We're at 56.5% expended and or encumbered. Of course, that's a reflection of the board's commitment to letting these contracts and do the work. And a lot of this funding rolled over from last year. That's why the budget is what it is. But the board's effort this year to encumber, bid out this, and actually let contracts is why we're at the percent we're at. Of course, we have to continue moving forward, but we won't spend this entire budget this year. There will be some carryover funds, and some of those discussions we've had with facilities are a reflection of why we won't spend it, because a lot of the work that we do in the capital outlay is done in July and August when the students aren't here. Another item that's fairly significant that looks underspent at this point is the operational support services. We were working with Dr. Jeffries before the holidays to ensure that the transportation division is going to purchase 4 activity buses. So if we had in fact encumbered those funds, that number would be a lot higher if we had a contract and or a purchase order outstanding for that. Child nutrition fund and after school program, as the auditor informed us, these are enterprise funds will run like businesses. And at this point in time, the disadvantage at this point for these 2 funds is that you've only operated about 3.5, 4 months. You start pretty much late August, you got September, October, November, you got the holidays, and then you have a partial portion of December. So I suspect, like usual, revenues will be picking up because you have more operating months in January through May primarily, and half of June. So you have more like a 5.5 month period with less holidays than you do in the first half of the year. But as you can see, one of the things right now is we've not reflect any indirect cost because we did not charge it to our books yet. But that gives you a better reflection of what's going on with these funds, because it shows you that we've brought in right at 8.95 million and only spent 8.928 million. So if it was truly a revenue and expense report without any indirect cost, it would show that we've only netted $20,000 in that fund. So we're trying to operate both of these funds, not necessarily as a for-profit, but as a break even. So that's our goal there, to break even. And then on the after-school program, similarly, we spent 2.1 million and brought in a little over 2.1 million for a net result at this point, excluding indirect costs, right at $48,000. So these programs are running as planned. And we did not have any increase in the after-school program, and we're very competitive with the market. The child nutrition, we were required by law to increase pricing because we do get a lot of our funding from federal government. Special programs, a reminder to the board and the public, these funds are for non-general K-12 education. Some of the primary programs going through this are ROTC funds, Medicaid, administrative outreach, medical reimbursement, Smart Start, Best Start dollars, NC pre-K funds. We do have some fiscal agent responsibilities with Southwest Education Alliance and the Literacy Council. So these are not for the general K-12 education of students. It's primarily restricted grants that we have going on, and or fiscal responsibilities with other entities to provide services that are typically not general K-12 education. And as you can see at this point, we're not showing any net difference between the revenues and expenditures at this point, and don't suspect that there'll be much, because even if there was, it wouldn't be considered a profit. It would be considered restricted, and it would roll the next year. So with that said, our budget is overall right now $295 million, and at this point, the local fund wasn't spent as fast as we received it for the reasons I stated earlier, and therefore we're running at a net margin of less than 1%, so 0.71%. I really have to say that the budget is tight, and it's reflected in this statement. Out of $395 million, if we run like this towards the end of the year, we probably are very close to a break-even situation like a typical year would be. And the goal, of course, is to make sure you don't go in a deficit. As the auditor said, last year we went from $700 and some odd $1,000 down to $500 some odd $1,000. You always want to make sure that you have something just in case something can happen and will happen. And I think the biggest thing that happened this year that did put pressure on our budget was an unexpected mandate from the state that we pay out that $750 bonus. We did take care of that in the local and federal budgets, but that will put pressure towards the end of the year to keep within these budgeted numbers. And unless there's any questions, that is the financial report as of December 31st.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Next up, Mr. Karpinski, budget
Okay,
preparation.
very good. Now we're going to move to next year. You know, this is like one of those unique calendars where, or agenda items where we had discussions about last year, this year, where we're at, and of course where we're headed next year. This calendar is another requirement by law, and you have it in your packet. And it shows that we have tentatively scheduled meetings that could be added to, that we could have additional meetings going on. Essentially, we'll have several board finance committee meetings. The superintendent will submit the budget in April, and then come May, it becomes the Board of Education's budget that will be submitted to the county commissioners by May 15th. So unless there's any changes, this is the plan. We, of course, haven't last year we did not have the benefit of the state planning allotments. We hope that changed. It's the second year of the biennial budget, so hopefully we'll get some clearer direction from the state this year. So we're going to take the information we get from the state, kind of know where we're headed with the federal government, and look at what the crystal ball says in terms of what the legislators are going to do, and put together a budget that is representative of the board's needs.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the budget preparation calendar with one change. I would like to add in that after we forward our approved budget to the Board of County Commissioners, we tentatively fit in either a liaison meeting with the county commissioners or another joint meeting sometime in the end of May, 1st of June timeframe. And again, we don't have to put it in there solid since we've not talked to them, but at least have it in there. Maybe it's a footnote or something, but scheduled as needed, tentative, et cetera. That's my motion.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to your motion. I would think it would be of advantage to us all as well, some being relatively new, that the Board Finance Committee meeting scheduled for April 14th or 28th, considering converting one of those to a full board work session. So either we can convert the April 14th to a work session, and then it can go back to the Finance Committee and then come back to the board, or when the Finance Committee is finished, the April 28th meeting being a full board work session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to hear from the Chairman of Finance, see what his thoughts are.
I think we need a second before we can have some conversation.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I had the calendar discussion with Mr. Karpinski regarding the finance meetings. I believe the way we put this together, there are opportunities for us to call a full board meeting later in the calendar year if that's deemed necessary. I don't know that at this point we need to add that to the actual budget calendar. Even the meeting with the commissioners, I think that's something we can take up later. I don't believe that we need to add that to our internal finance preparation calendar.
My consternation with not having it in there is, at least we have it in there, double star at the bottom. Additional finance committee budget meetings will be scheduled as needed. We mentioned May 9th to the 13th, we're going to forward the approved budget request to the Board of County Commissioners. At the very least, I believe we need to have in there that we're going to have our liaisons follow that up with the county commissioners. That's my feeling. As far as a full board meeting, I know the finance committee brings, like every committee, brings items to the full board, and we discuss it in this full board session. So I'm not as tied to a full board working session because I feel we can discuss it in our open board meeting here. But I do feel like we at least need to have somewhere on this budget preparation calendar, and that's the reason I made the motion, that in some way, shape, or form, whether it be a joint meeting or whether it be our liaisons meet together with the Board of County Commissioners liaison. And again, I'm not looking for a date on here because you can't put a date on a joint meeting. We've all seen how joint meetings move on and off calendars, but at least would feel comfortable with us putting something about that here. And again, I've made a motion, we can get a vote.
So, Mr. Martin, what I'm hearing you say is that instead of a passing, you want to make sure there's conversation from board member to board member. A
Right,
basic
and I'm fine with
carryover.
liaison to liaison, but I feel like when an email goes over, when it gets passed over, it gets lost in translation.
And also, Mr. Sides, I don't know how things are going to go with the vote, but I would say that we can ensure that we have documents in a timely manner and enough time to review and ask questions, and as well as add ample time during a board meeting as well to discuss as much as we need. So I just.
Well, I offer a work session because I wasn't quite pleased with the opportunities to make adjustments before we got to the last minute last year. And I think a work session, I think it's important that not only finance committee members, but the entire board have an understanding coming up in the process and input into our budget. So I think a work session is not unusual on a budget for the entire board. So I don't think that's unrealistic to have a work session.
So there needs to be a second to the
Yeah,
amendment. and then vote on the amendment.
Well, he made the motion, he made the amendment, and then we
The
seconded.
amendment, and then vote on the amendment. and then vote
I
on the
thought
motion.
that Ms. Merrill seconded the amendment, that's what I.
I did.
She did.
Did anybody second the motion?
Oh, you want to
We've got
talk
the
or you?
amendment still pending, so.
Madam Chair, unless I'm a foul parliamentary procedure-wise, I call the question on the amendment. Let's vote.
Okay, all those in favor of the amendment to have a work session? Did you specify a date? That second, the 28th?
I offered the two dates that are the two finance committee meetings, April 14th or April 28th, and then let the other remain as a finance committee meeting. So I'll just make my motion that either one of those two dates, as staff decides best, or the finance committee decides is best, one of those dates be converted to a full board work session. So I don't care which one, frankly.
Madam Chair, again, I'm not going to pretend I can do the finance chair's job. I appreciate the work Mr. Guzman does. And with that, I will once again call the question on the amendment.
Okay, for the amendment by Mr. Sides, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed?
Motion fails.
No, because I haven't voted yet. Oh.
You voted nay. What was it, 4-4?
4-3. It's 4-3.
I vote aye. So it is 5-3, and the amendment passes. Okay, now we vote on the, and Mr. Martin, and maybe Ms. Merrill, and
So we
Mr.
have in favor of the amendment, Mr. Sides, Ms. Harrell, Ms. Merrill, Mr. Martin, and Ms. Boyd. Is that correct?
Correct,
Just trying to clarify.
for the
record.
amendment. Mhm.
The initial motion was made by Mr. Stewart, seconded by Mr. Sides. No.
No, Mr.
I'm
Martin.
sorry, Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Sides. Mr. Sides made an amendment, seconded by Ms.
Ms.
Merrill.
Merrill. Mhm.
Okay, I just,
We can vote, we can call the question on Mr. Martin's motion to add a footnote
That we send over
with a real person.
with a liaison or a joint meeting between the dates of May and June.
Okay,
After the Board of Education approves, we don't just send it over, we send it over with somebody. Yep.
okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, all those opposed? Tay, okay. Did you get that done with Mr. Guzman and?
So it was liaison or full board meeting, y'all did not specify?
No, not just, just,
Or joint,
we didn't
that's
specify,
fine, okay.
just someone, something to be determined sometime later. Okay, thank you, Mr. Karpinski. I think your 3 minutes, 3 items are over now. Thank you so much.
We need to approve it.
Oh, well, I thought Mr. Martin's,
The motion was to change the calendar, to approve the calendar as now amended.
Approve the calendar as now amended. So it's approved, not, but with amended.
no, now we have to prove the original approval. I think he was,
No, my
he
motion was to
added.
approve the calendar and with
And
amended,
added.
so that it's now approved.
All right, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's what he had
When I
said.
clarified, that's not what I clarified, okay.
You're
That
right.
was the motion, was not just to amend it, but.
It was to
approve it.
add that.
Approve it with amendments,
Okay,
with some
Right.
changes.
all right.
Let's see. Okay, no, not yet. We have Mr. Sides, continuing education is next.
I made a request and did some research, and then I found out that I actually have to jump through another hoop. I am proposing for my continuing education requirement as a BOE member to attend a Leader in Me symposium in Spartanburg, South Carolina, February 17th through the 19th. For those that have not had the opportunity, we have 2 schools in the process of implementing the Leader in Me program. Indian Trail Elementary is the furthest, and Dr. Ellis talked about their leadership day. It's not really, it's more than a curriculum. It's more the way the classes in the school is organized, and the opportunities for the children to learn leadership traits, public speaking, organization, small group problem solving. I've had the opportunity to visit the school twice now. I'm very impressed with the program. It's all based on Dr. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, if you're familiar with that. So I would, since this is not a North Carolina School Board Association sponsored event, apparently I have to have permission from the board to attend to get hours for the meeting. So I don't have a full syllabus of the training, but it involves visiting area schools that have implemented the Leader in Me, speakers, expert educators that have had experience with the program and that are experienced with the 7 Habits program. And it's 2.5 days, including on-site visits to area schools in South Carolina that have implemented the program and have even achieved Lighthouse status, which is the fully accredited Leader in Me status. So I would make a motion, if I can on my own behalf, to have the board's permission to attend the Leader in Me Symposium in Spartanburg, South Carolina, February 17th through the 19th.
Is that a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we get to the motion, can I explain to you why it's here? I
Please,
think there's.
please do.
Yeah, I think there's some clarification. This isn't the first time the board has approved training for a board member. The way the statute reads is that the training for board members has to be, it says the training may be provided by the North Carolina School Boards Association, the School of Government at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, or other qualified sources at the choice of the local Board of Education. So whenever we have a board member who chooses to, or would like to send a training outside of one of those 2 entities, I contact Ramona Miller at the North Carolina School Boards Association, who is the one who maintains the credit for you all. And so I forwarded her Mr. Side's email seeking the enrollment in this, and her response was, as long as it's approved by the board, I'm good, and here's the form. And I've printed up the form for the board chair to sign in the event that this gets approved. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, approximately 1.5 to 2 years ago, Ms. Savage attended a training that was sponsored by the State Board of Education, not one of these 2, and she wanted the credit. So that came before you all, and the board approved at that time. So it's not something that you've not done before, but I just wanted you to clarify why it's here before you, so there's no confusion as to why this particular training is something that would need board approval for Mr. Sides to get credit. And that's obviously what we want Mr. Sides to be able to do, is get credit for that as part of his hours. Dr. Ellis did send to you all yesterday a link to the curriculum, and I have that to attach to the form to send to the School Boards Association as well. So that's why it's before you today.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So there's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I have no issue, as long as it stays within our normal budget. I don't think that's the only thing I would say.
I think the tuition is 500 some odd dollars. It's in a hotel, so that should be well under the 1,000 budget per.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Sides, happy
Thank you.
schooling. Okay, now Dr. Webb.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I do have 3 items to share with you coming out of the Facilities Committee, and each one of those items will require action from the board. The first item is roofing contracts for Unionville Elementary School. You have that at the desk, at the table. The Facilities Committee is recommending awarding the contract to Wright Roofing in the total amount of $849,789, contingent upon approval by the Board of County Commissioners. This project did go over budget, so we will have to ask permission from the Board of County Commissioners to approve funds to cover that project.
Madam Chair, on behalf of facilities, I move to approve with the stipulation the chair will be assigning whoever will be the liaison to the commissioners.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so was that a motion?
That was a motion on behalf of facilities.
Okay, I guess we don't need a second? Any discussion? So I guess we have to decide who's going, or I have to decide. I guess that's your motion.
My intent was to allow the chair, either you or Mr. Collins, to make that decision. It doesn't have to be made tonight, ma'am.
Okay,
Your discretion.
okay. So is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
The second item I'd like to share with the board is contract, the roofing contract for Porter Ridge Elementary School. Again, the Facilities Committee is recommending awarding this contract to Weather Guard, Inc. in the total amount of $510,650. Again, this project is contingent upon approval from the Board of County Commissioners to allow some flexibility with funding. This project was over budget by about $134,650.
Madam Chair, on behalf of facilities, I move to approve.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you.
And the final item coming out of the Facilities Committee is a request to address the growing emerging list of needs. You have that list that's been provided for you at your desk, as well as a second copy, giving you a copy of the previous board meeting of projects that had been deferred from the 14-15 capital budget. What the Facilities Committee is recommending to do is to ask the Board of County Commissioners to provide flexibility when it comes to the Denton Heights Elementary School, major renovation project, the internet protocol platform. As part of that internet protocol platform, if you recall, the county had added a couple other projects in there. We've shown that as broken out. That's the sound system at Denton Heights Elementary School and the auditorium ventilators at Denton Heights Elementary School. What the Facilities Committee is asking is you total that up. You have available funds of $3,043,480. You have needs for your emerging list of projects and your deferred projects of $2,449,441. That would allow the board to have some money, about $594,000, that you could address other emerging needs because you still have 6 months to go. And we're a little over 1.7 right now, as well as when you move through your projects, you may go over budget or under budget, so you will have some flexibility to utilize those funds. Again, this is a recommendation from the Facilities Committee.
Madam Chair, on behalf of facilities, I once again move for approval.
Is there any discussion?
I have a couple questions for Dr. Webb. And I know you covered most of this in facilities, so this is for the folks here that weren't in attendance for the Facilities Committee meeting. Could you elaborate a little bit on what is involved in Indian Trail and Benton Heights site improvements, what that entails?
Gosh, exercise, I hope I get most of, those are on.
In a broad, I mean, are we talking landscaping? We talking
No,
replacing
you're
parking lots,
Correct. And
streets?
You're dealing with a lot of parking lots, at Benton Heights, all that in the back of the school where all that pavement's been broken up, rerouting. If you go to Indian Trail and deal with the front of that school and the dismissal of school. So it's addressing a lot of those type of things. It's not landscaping.
Will you promise me you'll take the speed bumps out at Indian Trail? My little boy attended summer camp there, and I think I lost a shock absorber or two going over those speed bumps. They weren't humps, they're the old-fashioned bumps. Okay, and let's revisit, I know for the umpteenth time, the internet protocol, what I call security camera upgrades. You mentioned in committee that if we delay this item, this is a critical item, so there's no downtime during school. In other words, your cameras aren't working whilst kids are in school for security purposes. If we delay this project to the next fiscal year, which doesn't start until July 1, and if I understood correctly, you say about 2 months to start getting parts in, get everything lined up, get ready to go. If you push this item back to the next fiscal year, then your summer's almost gone. Then you're back behind the 8 ball again. Is that timeline accurate?
What we shared in the Facilities Committee, we discussed the potential savings with the project at New Salem, the sewer project.
Okay.
And that would give you a jump start to begin to look at ordering your equipment. So you've got some on the ground, so you can start as soon as the kids will be there in June. If we have available funds, we would go to bid probably in early April. That's probably a 4 to 6 week lead time because of the quantity you would be ordering. And we would be ready to install what we would have. And then as a board, if we needed to look at the funding for 16-17 for that next year, we would then adjust that. The Facilities Committee would have to look at that and make that a priority to continue the project.
Okay. I know this is off the top of your head, of the 1.2 million, how much are you talking about hardware versus labor for the actual installation? I mean, is it half that? 3/4?
I would be speculating on that until it goes out to bid.
Okay.
We would hire a contractor because of the amount of time to do that. What we did discuss is that we would start with the year-round schools first because of their schedule, that we would need to put those as a priority school. Keep in mind that we would be able, because of, even if we just had, I'm making this number up, a savings of $200,000.
Right.
Because that's still a large number to bulk purchase. If that enabled us to do our middle schools, whatever the Facilities Committee wanted to
phase it in.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we would take whatever dollars we have and whatever the Facilities Committee and the Board of Education, if needed, would appropriate 16-17 to continue through that project. We could also work with our contractors to start on Friday evenings and go through Saturdays and Sundays. And some of your schools.
Christmas break, spring break.
That's correct.
They don't have a finance plan to buy this equipment, do they? So basically, if I'm understanding you correctly, if we get lucky on the bid estimate for the sewer system at New Salem, and we get lucky and we don't need to dip into the 594,000 that you're projecting as a hopeful surplus, we might have some funds to begin the acquisition of equipment to get all things in a row. So when the fiscal year hits, and this is in next 16-17 fiscal year budget, you can hit the ground running. Is that fair?
As Mr. Kapinski shared with you, that's why many of our projects run into June, July, and August. We get everything staged and ready, and as soon as the schools are empty of children, we go in and address them.
Thank you.
Dr. Webb, point of clarification, if we push back the upgrade of the IP protocol backbone for our security cameras, is safety or security compromised in any way, or are we still fully functional?
We're still fully functional. We spend about approximately $50,000 a year repairing the older DVR type systems. But again, this funding, this 1.2 is the platform. It is not additional security cameras. We currently have the DVR system in place at all of our schools with the minimum number of cameras, security cameras at our elementary, middle, and high school.
But as Deputy Superintendent in charge of facilities, you're assuring me there is no compromise to safety and we will function as we normally would, even with the delay?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of this deferred project and emerging needs going to the county commissioners, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's an aye?
That's an aye.
Okay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Webb. Okay, we have Dr. Jones and Mr. Breedlove, High School Program of Studies.
Good evening, Board of Education members. We know the year is passing when it's time for the next item that comes to you from the Curriculum Committee. It is the review and approval of our annual high school program of studies for the year 2016-2017. Hard to believe, but that will be for next year's. Of course, we edit and update this document every year. It goes through the process of principals providing input regarding courses. We look at any changes at state board policy, any changes in mandates from Department of Public Instruction, as well as any changes in legislation, and of course, any changes that comes from you, the Board of Education. The document for the high schools, of course, is this time presented as we will begin the registration process for our high school students for the upcoming year. For the past 4 years, the bar was raised with Dr. Wanda Little, our former director of high school education, who did a fantastic job at adding some new qualities to the program of studies. And this year, baptism by fire is offered to our new director of secondary education, Mr. Brad Breedlove. This starts at the end of August. When we start school, we begin working on this. He does want to highlight a few of the changes that are made to this year's document. And what you received last week, of course, was a text copy, because then it goes to our wonderful communications department where they add the pictures and they make the publication. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. Breedlove to come forward and share some of the changes. And then if there are any questions that you have based upon the text document we sent you, you may ask those. Mr. Breedlove. Thank you.
Well, I first want to start off by saying thank you to Dr. Ellis, Dr. Jones, Carolyn White, my secretary, Julie Beckwith, and the 4 board members that serve on the curriculum committee for enduring the pain of going through all of it, reviewing it, and with your help and assistance throughout this whole process, this journey since August. As a history major, I thought I knew history coming out of college, and course, and you realize when you're standing in front of 30 plus students that you really didn't know as much as you thought you knew. As a principal, I thought I knew the program of studies, and until going through this process, I realized that I really didn't know it and I didn't own it, but now I do, and I do know it and I do own it, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. While I'm not going to bore you with all the details about grammar and syntax changes that we made, I do, like Dr. Jones said, want to go over some significant changes that we made to the program of studies for next school year. For example, there are only 2 pathways in Union County Public Schools for a minimal 28 credit diploma. You have the Future Ready Core, which 97% of our students go through that pathway. That's the traditional pathway. And then you have the Future Ready Occupational, which are what we formerly known as OCS pathway. But just as the name changed, a lot changed with OCS as far as the way that we structured OCS. The entire layout changed in describing what Future Ready Occupational pathway is and what students have to do to earn a diploma through that pathway. My hat's off to Janie Webb, Linda Little, our entire EC department of going through the process of overhauling the layout in order to make it easier for parents and students to know exactly what is in store for them as they enter high school along that pathway. In addition, as we always want to keep our customers at the forefront in the process and look through their eyes at what we present to them, we were able to make some changes to clarify other items, such as the application process for early and mid-year graduation, as well as the CAS program. There are certain steps that have to be followed, and so we clarified those things. We included all of the changes that we have been given to us by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, such as what you already know, like the 10-point scale that we're currently on, the 2 GPA scales, the 5.0 for freshmen and the 6.0 scale for sophomores, juniors, and seniors that they're currently on. We added in all the new courses, AP Seminar, AP Research. Our Union County Virtual put out new classes such as mythology. CTE put in robotics, for example, human biochemistry out at Marvin Ridge. So we embedded all of those changes, the new coursework as well. Those are the significant changes to the document. The document is a great document. We're the #1 school system in the state. And I believe that, I know that to be true. So this, in fact, this document that we put together is the #1 program of studies in the state. And I feel that, and you should be confident in that because we do a great job. Can I say that on the air? I guess I can. I did, didn't I? And I believe it. I believe it.
You spent a lot of time with that document, didn't you?
I own it. I own it. But at this time, as long as there aren't any future changes made by the state before this goes to print or by the Board of Education, this document is ready to go at this time. Do you have any questions?
Just want to add one thing. Some of these courses that you see offered in there are under, of course, the My Size Fits Me initiative that Dr. Ellis directs. We get input from students and from teachers in adding courses, and we want to continue to expand that to try to tie into what the interest of our students are, and that's been the focus of the administration.
Madam Chair, on behalf of Curriculum Committee, I make a motion that we approve Mr. Breedlove's baby, the high school program of study.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I'd just like to say thank you to your Better Page. You're doing a heck of a job. Welcome to the program, Brad.
John's a grandfather now.
I know, John's a grandfather. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, now we have policies for review. Ms. Morris?
Good evening. I don't own these. All right. Policies for review. We have those first. And the first one is policy 3-7, prohibition against unlawful discrimination, harassment, and bullying for employees. This initially came to review from statutory changes, and as I have a habit of doing, is I pull other policies from other jurisdictions, other districts in the state, as well as the School Boards Association, and start adding things that I think would make ours more robust. And so that is what some of these changes in here are as well. If there's any questions. Okay, the next policy for review then is policy 4-5, immunization. We propose health assessment requirements for school admission. There were some changes in the health assessment requirements. statutory changes in the last session, and as I went to make those changes, I realized we did not have health assessments in policy, so it seemed a natural fit to add it to this policy as opposed to adding another policy, which Mr. Collins would have prohibited vociferously. So this is the proposed changes to that policy. Okay, there's no questions. I will move on to 4-7, prohibition against unlawful discrimination, harassment, and bullying for students. And that is the companion policy to 3-7. No questions? All right. And I guess we'll move on to policies for approval. And you have one policy for approval before you tonight, 3-2A. This came before you at the last board meeting. The change proposed is at the request of staff to clarify staff, the rule in the policy is that staff cannot be paid for tutoring students for which they're responsible for during the day. And that's obviously to prevent teachers from being paid when they should be doing that, teaching that subject matter during the day to those students. We are making clarification that unless it's to a district approved or a school approved program, if a teacher's engaging in a tutoring program for the school and they're being paid by the district, it's supposed to be paid personally. So that was the one proposed change to this. It came before you last month for review. I've gotten no recommended changes. It went to policy again for review, and it's here for your approval tonight.
Madam Chair, on behalf of policy, I make a motion that we approve policy 3-2A.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are down to board comments. We don't have any. We don't have any. We don't. We're good. Ms. Harrell?
No. First of all, I'd like to say how happy I am to be here tonight. Certainly the closest to my home I've been since I've been on the board. I can just go across the street, and I'm very grateful for that. Secondly, I'd like to thank Mr. Ray and his staff. This has just been a wonderful meeting to me because I worked here approximately 18 years during the time that I was an employee with Union County Public Schools, and so I do feel like this is home. And lastly, I had the opportunity to attend the state championship game in Raleigh. And I'm not necessarily an athletic person, but I screamed and yelled so loud and was so grateful to have the opportunity to see those young men bring home a win. And I just am thankful to have the opportunity to say that publicly. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank Principal Ray, especially your faculty and staff. Our meal was wonderful tonight. Really enjoyed talking with some of your teachers. And I really want to commend you for your hard work. Your presentation spoke volumes of how you and your staff and faculty are going above and beyond the call of duty to ensure quality education, especially to children that are challenged. And I commend and I thank you for it. Also, I would like to send a shout out to Dr. Shelton Jeffries, who is leaving us to go to Nash County. Dr. Jeffries has always responded quickly. I don't know if he was always glad to hear from me, but he always got things squared away, and I wish him the best as he goes to Nash County.
Any other comments? Mr. Sides?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would also like to thank Monroe Middle for your hospitality tonight, and hope everybody is off to a good start in the new year. It looks like it's greeted us and finally decided to become winter after all. So I wish everyone the best in 2016. Thank you and good evening.
Anyone else? Okay, any announcements?
Madam Chair, facilities, January 26th at 07:30. It'll be in the boardroom at the Union County Public Schools Central Office.
Policy will meet on Friday, the 22nd at 8:30 at Central Office.
Okay, any other announcements? Any plus deltas? Okay, we just need one final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All All those opposed? Okay, thank you. Good night.